why isn't his punk on our wall? But really the question at Trustless State is, why is your punk as my background? That's the real question.
And
look at that. Look at this, right?
But wait,
that's what I have.
That can't be possible, Phil, because I have a copy too.
Well, wait a second. My background, you have it printed, he has it printed? Uh-oh. Guess everyone just owns a copy of it. All right, no. For real, though, we're simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, websites by plebes or plebs. This is the weekend recap, and we are going to the numbers. Let's take a look.
Number time!
At the time of this recording, the block height is 701,318. The Bitcoin price, 47,595. Chain rewrite days, 842. Total public Lightning capacity, 2,576.49. Total... Sorry, sats per dollar. I was going to say the total sats per dollar. Anyways, sats per dollar, 2,102. And the blocks to the halvening, 138,682. Those are fun.
Man, if I told you... See, like, thing is, when you're living on Bitcoin time, you know, everything just feels like... It's like, oh, this is so boring. But, you know, you have to remind yourself that, like, dude, like, we're like multiples higher than we were the year before, dude.
I know, it's true.
It's like, you know, like, could you imagine when remember when we spent literally like a decade and a half in Bitcoin time, of course, at consolidating at 10K, you know, it went below, then it went above, then it went below, then it went above. Yep. Like, dude, like, could you have imagined if I would have told you we've just spent like half the year consolidating around 50K? No, you wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me at all. So,
of course not.
Yeah, man. Bitcoin just, you know, it spoils you, man. It spoils you. But anyways,
it really does.
It's a good time to stack sats. You know, you're gonna tell your grandchildren you were the person that stacked some sats under 50K. They're not gonna believe you. Watch what's gonna happen. NGU technology is gonna do its thing.
That's right. It sure is.
Sure is. Anyways, guys, it's time for
the Daily Fail, sponsored by
Pirate Hash.
Okay, so we got a couple of fails this weekend. This one was brought to us by Psy, or ICO Senat. Anyways, likes to comment on a lot of our stuff, and I have a lot of back and forth with him on Twitter. So
yeah, man,
good dude, good Bitcoiner. Follow him.
Good pleb.
Yeah, good pleb. And so, you know, he brought this to my attention. So let's dive into it. There was so much fail this weekend, so I picked two. Don't worry, we're going to cover the rest of them throughout the week, adding on to the... I'm sure no other fails will happen, you know, so we'll be able to catch right up. Anyways, yeah, we'll just catch right up.
I highly doubt that, but yes.
Yeah, I know, me too, right? Okay, so this is interesting, right? Like we've already started to see what's coming from the, you know, from the Fed, and what, you know, we've got the eco warriors, right? Bitcoin's boiling the ocean, the Fed, right? Bitcoin's destroying the economies, okay, all that stuff. Well, now it turns out that Bitcoin is ruining gaming. That's right. We are now ruining gaming. Turns out Bitcoin has a physical waste problem as well as a power problem. Please note, those are features, those are not problems. Okay? This is what it costs to secure proper money correctly so that everyone doesn't get screwed. I think it's worth it. We waste a lot of energy on a lot of other useless crap that doesn't do anything for anyone. This, I think, is a worthwhile use case for our energy.
Absolutely.
I guess for those of us that value our time, this makes sense. Anyways, let's dive into the article. The waste from 8 Bitcoin transactions equals 1 precious RTX 3090. Bitcoin's growing e-waste problem, via The Guardian, by economists from Dutch Central Bank. Keep that in mind. From Dutch Central Bank and MIT, estimates that Bitcoin's e-waste adds up to 30.7 metric kilotons annually. per May 2021. This number is comparable to the amount of small IT and telecommunications equipment waste produced by a country like the Netherlands. Well, it's securing our value, so I imagine we're going to expend some energy, right?
Guys, I want you to pay attention to the fact that this article comes from PC Magazine, and it's focusing specifically on gaming components. I'm going to talk a little bit about this specific subject in the news. I just want you to pay attention on how the mainstream media collude. Okay, I'm sorry, Phil.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's keep going. You already know this. Cryptocurrencies have been ruining PC gaming since 2017. Did you know that this was ruining gaming since 2017?
Dude, I had to overpay like.
So what you're saying was that there was not enough supply for the demand and the price went up.
But it wasn't because of Bitcoin. It was because of the COVID thing, and there was a global supply crunch, right? So it had nothing to do with Bitcoin, right? But it did increase the prices significantly. I bought the retail price for the 3090 was $1,500. I bought mine for $2,250, right? So I don't mind paying the thing because I like to game. What can I say?
But their contention is that it was Bitcoin.
Nope.
So here we go.
It was not, because I was paying attention to the entire thing. It was literally because governments decided to shut down and lock down economies. Great reset, for the benefit of the people, of course, and that's why they're beating people in Australia, to remind them, that it's for their own health. But anyways, I'm sorry, Phil.
No, not at all, not at all. Back then, we called it the Great Drought, only for something worse to follow. Because of the relentless churn of hardware, the study claims that on average, Bitcoin generates 272 grams of e-waste per transaction processed on the blockchain. Yeah, I know. That's a lot of tech to waste in a silicone shortage. And on the same blockchain that is weirdly heralded as some sort of savior of humanity and can be used for anything from currency to art to damn kitties. So yeah, 272 grams or 2 iPhones or an eighth of an RTX 3090. So you can see,
guys,
yes.
Pay attention and highlight it if you want, Phil, to the 2 iPhones part. Okay, because what we're going to show you on this episode is the collusion. Right, PC Games is focused on gaming, so they're going to tell you from the gaming perspective, it's the 3090s, it's this and this and that. Focused on the two iPhones, though. Remember that narrative. Anyways, I'm sorry, Phil.
So look, right, all of these happenings, right? They look like happenstance. They don't seem to be related, but as we're going to end up showing, between the fail and the news, you end up seeing how all of this stuff is linked together. Right? Because once you actually do put it together, it tells a story. Separately, it just looks like random events. Anyways, check this out. Before you come at me with proof of stake as a way out, point me to the final release of the new long-heralded version of Ethereum. It was meant to be only a few months back out in May, and still nowhere to be found. So this person, this person who's an avid gamer themselves, they just have they've grouped all crypto everything together, right? The shit coins with Bitcoin, right? There's a comment earlier in the article about how he kind of explained how CryptoKitties was on the same blockchain as Bitcoin. So you could see that, there's no real actual knowledge of Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form. There's only the narrative of the PC gaming. Anyways, I just think it's a weak article. I think it's a really weak article. I think it takes this stance, right? And I get it, right? They want to take the stance of the gaming, but the problem is that are you really saying that gaming is somehow more important than building a system that secures people's monetary value and enforces monetary freedom? Really? Like, is that you wanted to have said that? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
Like for me, like I don't want that to be my message. You know. So.
No, and not only that, dude. Like, look, like I'm a gamer, right? And I like to buy the latest and greatest graphics cards, right? So I waited to get the 3090, right? But I know why the 3090 wasn't available, and it literally had nothing to do with Bitcoin and shitcoin mining. It had to do with the COVID event and how the supply chains got backed up. For example, even Apple, which is like, the tippity top when it comes to ordering, they have the best customer experience. You feel like you're opening a candy bar when you open an Apple product, whether you like them or not, but that's just the reality. The packaging, it's all fancy
fantastic
and stuff like
UX.
that. They even, when the iPad was announced, the iPad Pro, they currently updated it, right, to the mini LED. It was also back ordered. So that never usually happens with Apple. Usually when Apple announces a product, it releases right on the day or a week after. This was back ordered. So it shows you, right, the global supply crunch all over the world. And the reason for that is there's a semiconductor shortage, right? So that's essentially what's going on, but that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And if it does have a little bit to do with Bitcoin, right, because I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, it's a tiny little fraction of it. So yeah. But anyways, Phil, I know there was another great fail, and I'm very excited to dump on it. So let's check that out.
Yeah, let's dive right into this because I think there was a lot of activity this weekend on this one, right? It came to us by way of a tweet from Alex Gladstein. Coinbase has inked their largest deal with the feds yet, signing a $1.36 million contract to provide ICE with financial surveillance software. Why? Right? Why? They're just such despicable enemies of freedom. It's not even funny. U.S. Homeland Security signs $1.36 million contract with Coinbase. Coinbase will provide the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement branch with blockchain analytics software. The crypto exchange has also provided software to the U.S. Secret Services and Inland Revenue.
I guess that's at some form of the IRS.
Yeah. Some other subgroup of fuckery. Anyways, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement branch of the U.S. Homeland Security has given $1.36 million contract to crypto exchange giant Coinbase for business application and application development software, according to the Federal Procurement Data System. So here you go. This is just, where they're covering the financials. The link to this is going to be in the show notes, so you guys can go take a look at this and you can see what they're getting paid to provide these services to the government. The contract was given to Coinbase on the basis that the company is the only vendor who can reasonably provide the services required by the agency. Details as to exactly what the ICE wants Coinbase software for are scarce.
Of course. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Right? The same document later states, this requirement is law enforcement sensitive. Therefore, minimal information will be provided publicly. In other words, we're not going to tell you that we're going to do our best to spy on you, but we're doing our best to spy on you. ICE is not the first government agency to request Coinbase services. Last year, Coinbase announced its desire to sell analytics tools to two U.S. government branches, the Drug Enforcement Agency and the Inland Revenue Service. The IRS said that it could use several analytics tools to help catch blockchain-savvy tax dodgers, including Coinbase Analytics, formerly known as Neutrino. Coinbase acquired Neutrino back in 2019 for $13.5 million. It was a controversial acquisition at the time since Neutrino members had been linked to an Italian organization called Hack Team. No. They hadn't been linked to an organization called Hack Team. They were Hack Team. Okay, that's bullshit nonsense. That doesn't make it any better. This disingenuous wording doesn't make things any better. Anyways, which sold spyware and to authoritarian regimes in Saudi Arabia, Sudan, and Venezuela. Those are the people that Coinbase bought out. They were selling, they were selling stuff to, to these other nations, which I personally, I don't really care who they were selling it to. The point is that they were a sketchy group to hire, okay? And why do you need these people if you are just offering legitimate services? Why do you need these people? How come the other exchanges don't need these sketchy people? Huh? And I'm not standing up for the exchanges in any way, shape, or form, but how come the other ones don't need these sketch bags? Anyways, Coinbase is now inking $1 million deals with the federal government. Move over Chainalysis. The U.S. government may have a new favorite blockchain company.
Who happens to be an exchange.
Yeah, who happens to be an exchange. Okay.
Who happens to, all the noobs, most of the noobs happen to go with them. Anyways, I'm sorry.
It's just crap. It is just total crap. It's total nonsense. We've said this 1,000 times. Brian Armstrong is an enemy of Bitcoin. He was a proponent of the New York Agreement. Okay, they actively encourage noobs to learn about shitcoins and then give them shitcoins for learning about shitcoins. I mean, don't get me wrong, but how is that any different than a drug dealer on the side of the street giving you a bunch of free hits until you come back needing more? How is that it's the same basic concept, right? Oh, free money, right? And that's what everybody says. Oh, they gave me free money.
And
really?
And it's based with bad. It's based with bad intentions, Phil, because essentially, they're giving this idea to noobs or no coiners that Bitcoin and these shitcoins are somehow equal, right? And that's kind of the idea that they're incepting on. Now, why is Brian Armstrong, and it's funny because he says he regretted, buying Neutrino, after it got exposed, of course. There's only regret after it's reported, They got a lot of backlash on shitcoin Twitter. But yeah, man, listen, why would he do something like this? It's very simple, right? Brian Armstrong, and Jack Mahler's talked about this on one of the pods he went on. Brian Armstrong put his bet on shitcoins, right? So what I've been telling you guys is that shitcoins don't have sufficient amount of decentralization in order to withstand a nation-state attack. DeFi, which is a major component that, all the shitcoin exchanges, including Coinbase, are trying to shill as the future, even though we've explained many times on the show why it, in fact, is CeFi, right? They have to rely on the regulators, right? And how do you make those goddamn regulators happy? You give them the software to spy on the citizens in order to collect more tax revenue, right? If this was an exclusive Bitcoin company, there would be no leverage because, again, the regulators don't have leverage in that situation. But Coinbase positioned itself because it made a bet on shitcoins, and now it has to stick to its guns, right? Remember, Coinbase only has 4,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, which is a new kid on the block, has 114,000 Bitcoin. Just to show you the magnitude of the fuck up that Brian Armstrong made, even though he got into the space, I think it was in 2013, right? So he had a long time to accumulate more Bitcoin, but he focused on the shitcoin casino, and this is why he's cozying up to the government, because he knows that the government can shut down the shitcoin casino. So he kind of has to, do a little backroom trading with the U.S. government to keep them happy, so that he can keep his scam alive, man. And you know what? The U.S. government is super happy about that because they can keep him under control, right? Something that they can't do with Bitcoin. So Brian Armstrong dug his own goddamn grave. And I'm telling you guys, he is an enemy of Bitcoin. And because he's an enemy of Bitcoin, he's an enemy of freedom. Delete Coinbase. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by
Citadel 21.
All right, everybody, the meme for today is brought to us by fellow toxic plebe, Stony BTC. Definitely give him a follow. Some awesome pictures of him moving big-ass rocks. Pretty cool. Anyways, let's check this out. It's the IQ thing, man. I'm telling you. Oops. 100 BTC cold storage by HUD 8 and Mara fiat denominated miners, 30% BTC portfolio. Allocation is the best.
Floppio.
100 BTC cold storage, the high IQ people. I completely agree. I follow this myself. Just 100 BTC allocation. I think I'm over leveraged. I think I'm at 110, 20% my net worth is in BTC at this point. So yeah, man. So I agree. Awesome meme by Stony Bison. Let's check out this other one from Ding Dong 3001. It's all fine. IMF, central banks, governments, the banking system.
Accurate.
Accurate. Highly accurate. Awesome memes by Stony Bison, and I forget the other plebe, Ding Dong 3001. Awesome. And for that, I'm going to give it a very special score of, how there's the American flag that says can't tread on me? Well, here's the Bitcoin one. Can't tread on me. Instead of don't tread on me, it's can't tread on me. And that's exactly what Bitcoin is. Anyways, Phil, what would you give that meme?
Yeah, loved both memes. Fantastic. And for that, I am giving it, I finally got it. It is the hat for my seed signer. So I am ready soon to finally build this thing. I've got all the parts. Nothing's stopping me now.
Nothing's stopping you now. Now Phil's finally going to get to experiment with multisig because he's been avoiding it for quite a while now. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, man.
Excited.
Awesome scores by us. The can't tread on me sticker.
By somebody else.
By a half-built seed signer. Anyways, guys, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments, of course, and join our Telegram group because we need Bitcoin plebe memes to review because it's a meme review, and that's what we do. We review memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
All right, guys. So I told you to keep an eye out to what Phil was covering, right? The mainstream media had a coordinated attack, right? The energy FUD is not working out so well. You have Michael Saylor's, council kind of debunking that. You have Nick Carter going on MSNBC. So they're trying to debunk this. They're not really winning that war. Now it's come out that, a majority of Bitcoin mining comes from what they call the eco-communists, the green energy sources. So that narrative is no longer working. So they've pivoted, right? They focused on the gamers with the daily fail that Phil focused on, right? You can't get graphics card because Bitcoin uses them all, right? Check out this article by a mainstream media propaganda arm. Bitcoin transactions could generate the weight of 128,000 grand pianos in wasted electronics per year. Researchers predict. It's not only that, right? There it is again. Look at that, Phil. Look at that. Same wording as the PC Mag. Look at that.
Wait, are they all getting No, they're not getting their information from the same sources.
And remember, you read it in the first time. Their sources are coming from a bank. It was the bank.
I just want to add before you continue. I'm absolutely ashamed at all the people that think that it's okay to destroy all those trees for all those grand pianos. You know, all the oxygen that's lost, right? Like that's that much less, right? That's that many less trees cleaning the air.
But wait, Phil.
You know?
There's more.
How come no one's crying about that?
This is simply Bitcoin, and we don't like to just make stuff up. We bring receipts. Check this out. Bitcoin's growing e-waste problem, right? Oh, so all these articles, all these mainstream media articles, you know, they just jumped on this article. But look who it's by.
Oh my God.
Of the Netherlands Bank, Amsterdam, the Netherlands. So check it out. It's like the horse and buggy people were writing articles about cars. And then that's who you're trusting, right? And of course, the mainstream media fiat propaganda arm goes along with it. But let's fact check them a little bit. I'm going to use that word because they love to use that word on us, okay? So check this out. All this waste, right? But here's the truth, right? Again, On a fiat standard, war is not only affordable, it's profitable. On a Bitcoin standard, right, war is actually very expensive, and it de-incentivizes war, right? So let's see who the biggest waster, the polluter of the world is. Check this out. Who is the greatest polluter? I'm going to add my own words here. Is it Bitcoin mining? Is it e-waste? I asked my partner, who responded, cattle, airlines, agriculture. They're all good answers. But the correct one is the U.S. military. We do not hear, check this out, it gets worse, Phil. We do not hear about the armed forces record as a polluter because they make getting data difficult. Oh, look at that. As part of the 1997 Kyoto Protocol, the United States insisted on an exemption for reporting military emissions.
Huh.
Oh.
Well, could we get one of those? Oh, wait. Bitcoin's transparent and there's no central entity. Okay.
So the essentially the military that supports the petrodollar, right? Because that's the dollar is literally supported by war, right? And the military industrial complex and the petrodollar, which is this shady deal that the US did back in the 1970s and 80s, where essentially they went to Saudi Arabia and they said, listen, you could only sell oil to other countries in US dollars, propping up the value of the US dollar. Anyways, as the world's biggest polluter, our armed forces created 750,000 tons of toxic waste every year in the form of depleted uranium, oil, jet fuels, pesticides, defoliants, lead, and other chemicals. According to Mint Press News, MPN reports that almost 900 of the 1,200 Superfund sites in this country are abandoned military sites. So again, right, they're focusing on this. They're focusing on a technology that's providing people freedom. It's providing families to allow to send to countries that the legacy financial system deems unbankable, right? It's actually providing lots of jobs for people, especially in places that have isolated energy pockets. Now miners go in there and they offer jobs to people. They create, they create business there. Right? What does the army do but destroy? Anyways, going back to this, right? So we focused on that. It's actually the US government and the US military that is the biggest polluter, but we're not allowed to know about it, right? Because they're exempted from the emissions reports. But let's check out some of those harmful effects that, of course, are not covered by the fiat mainstream propaganda arm because guess what? It's inconvenient. This was an article in 2019 before Bitcoin became legal tender in El Salvador. Iraqi children born near U.S. military base show elevated rates of serious congenital deformities, study finds. The war has spread so much radiation here that unless it is cleaned up, generations of Iraqis will continue to be affected. But remember, guys, Bitcoin is the problem. Remember, guys.
Oh, it was 128,000 grand pianos.
Bitcoin is the problem. Not the depleted uranium that we're leaving in Iraq. Not the 750,000 tons of toxic waste, right? Which I'm sure is a lot more grand pianos. A lot more NVIDIA 3090 graphics cards. So as you can see, simply Bitcoin, fact-checked, the bullshitters. Anyways, I just loved using the fact check because they do it to us.
Dude,
anyways,
128,000 grand pianos.
Phil,
you know how many trees that is?
Thoughts on this? Thoughts on this fucking bullshit?
Yeah, I first of all, how come Elizabeth Warren isn't all over this? I mean, like, she should be. I mean, like, because I saw she released a whole bunch of FUD against Bitcoin and the energy use. These people, where are they? Where's Eric Holthouse and Amy, whatever her name is there, that has the terrible takes on Bitcoin, and Francis Coppola, right? All these geniuses, right? Where are they? They're there to rescue the environment, rescue everyone from Bitcoin, and yet where are they? This is sickening. The amount of waste, right, from the military, and not only that, but like this is serious, right? Like, we're not even just talking about garbage. We're talking about radioactive garbage that creates mutations. And it's such a fucking clown world. Bitcoin's bad. It's helping fugitives and it's helping criminals. In the meantime, you're creating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over there in these freaking countries, okay? And Bitcoin's evil. Like, these people are psychotic.
Yeah, dude.
It's insane. I've run out of words. Like, for me, they're psycho clowns. That's what they are. They're psycho clowns that they dress up in suits so that we believe them.
And remember, guys, right? Yes, Bitcoin uses a lot of energy. The majority of that energy is stranded energy, meaning energy that was already going to waste. And the vast majority of that energy as well comes from what they call green energy sources, right? Hydropower, stuff like that. But I might add, right, Phil, that guess what? Wait, what were you going to say?
I just want to quickly say, if anyone gave a shit about energy, I find this is such virtue signaling. No one gives a shit. Okay? No one cares. It's just being used right now because of Bitcoin and because of Bitcoin's transparency. But no one gives a shit about energy. If they did, we wouldn't be wasting our time producing all of this petroleum sludge products that we do, right? Because think about it. Reproducing a toaster over and over again because the one that we made doesn't last as long? Think of all the energy. Like, it's just brainwashing. They don't even realize. It's like we're making all of this useless crap that doesn't last and you have to keep producing it. And we're blaming Bitcoin for securing our value? Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
You're absolutely right. Bitcoin literally defunds the military industrial complex because it becomes expensive to go to war under a Bitcoin standard. I'm going to pivot a little bit here, guys. Some big news dropped over the weekend. We've been covering it. We covered it a couple days ago, how the Biden administration wants to literally report, banks literally have to report every single transaction over $600 to the IRS. But guess what? There's more. The government wants to know every single thing you are doing without probable cause. And there was this little part, right, that snuck into the infrastructure bill that a lot of people didn't notice. I spoke to the Bitcoin lobbying arm. That's all I could say at the moment. And they're aware of this. They're on top of this. But guys, remember we said we're entering then they fight you. We are definitely in the then they fight you stage, right? We covered this. Biden Treasury Department declares IRS will monitor transactions of all U.S. accounts over 600. Now, I want you to pay attention to this part. The proposal will also apply to Bitcoin and shitcoin asset exchanges and custodians, right? So every single transaction you make over $600, guess what? Gets sent over to the big daddy government. But wait, there's more. Check out this article by Coin Center, an unworkable and arguably unconstitutional tax change tucked away in the infrastructure bill. The name of the amendment is I guess that is 6050I. Requires counterparties to surveil each other and even without an intermediary. Now, what does all this mean? Check out this thread by Chris Donovan. A lesser-known element of the notorious draft infrastructure bill would impose sweeping reporting obligations on Bitcoin and shitcoin transactions between individuals.
Yeah, good luck.
Between individuals.
Oh, yeah.
The bill does this by amending provision 6050I of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code to include digital assets, right? Section 0 was originally enacted in 1984 to discourage large in-person cash transfers, instead encourage the use of financial institutions. The war on cash, right? They want you to use their system because the fiat system needs you. Now, check this out. 6505I, as amended, would require any person receiving digital assets in the course of a trade/business valued at $10,000 or more to file a report with the IRS disclosing the sender's details, including full name, date of birth, address, social security number. So, essentially, they're trying to make Bitcoin into the legacy system. And if you don't comply, if you don't file this, you are now a criminal. You are a criminal, and they will put you in jail If I send $10,000 to Phil in Bitcoin in this country, because if I was in El Salvador, no problem. Just in the United States, right? I would have to report to the IRS his full name, his date of birth, the reason as to why I'm sending it to him, the address, and his social security number. And the reason that they're doing this, because they know it's not enforceable, is because they're going to make examples out of all of us to push us to their central bank digital currency system. Now, Chris Donovan goes on to say, once again, this is an apparent attempt to impose warrantless mass surveillance on Bitcoin and shitcoins. In this case, snuck into a 2,700-page infrastructure bill without meaningful public debate or discussion. And like we've played you videos from Cynthia Loomis when they tried to stop this at last second, but of course that was never going to happen. It was snuck in by the treasury because they know Bitcoin is a threat to their fucking scheme.
Ruthless, disgusting dinosaurs, these people. Honestly,
Dude,
you know what? They're enslaving their own. You know what? They're enslaving their own freaking children.
It's disgusting. Now, I want you to pay attention to this, okay? I want you to pay attention.
Eat your own.
When the $10,000 rule was applied in 1970, we've showed you this many times, its dollar value today would be $70,000, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's just $10,000. With inflation, it's going to be even less. So keep an eye on this. Any transaction, right, I would have to report full name, date of birth, address, social security number. Now this, right, would also, the government's going to be spying on you for every transaction over $600, including withdrawals from exchanges. Now, is any of this stuff legal? Absolutely not. Let me read you the Fourth Amendment, right, from literally 1789, the Bill of Rights. The right of the people to secure in their persons, house, papers, and effects, here it is, against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. What probable cause do you have, right,
None.
to force people to give private information to the government even though they haven't committed a crime? What probable cause do you have to force all banks to declare every single transaction over $600? This is completely against the Fourth Amendment. But not only that, right? Remember, guys, I tell you about rules for thee, but not for me. Check out this article from Forbes. Holding U.S. Treasuries? Beware. Uncle Sam can't account for $21 trillion. Let's read some more. Mark Skidmore and I wrote about $21 trillion in federal government transactions in the Department of Defense and Housing and Urban Development that our government indicated were undocumented and explained. As concerns and questions were gained traction. Of course, they respond because it gains traction. Investigative reporter Dave Lindorf dug into the issue and recently published an article, Exclusive, the Pentagon's Massive Accounting Fraud Exposed in the Nation, based on a series of interviews with current and former government officials. Lindorf concluded that Pentagon accounting is phony, composed of made-up numbers designed to obfuscate and thus propelling U.S. military spending higher year after year. But remember, guys, Bitcoin is the problem. Let's ignore the deformed people born in Iraq. Let's ignore that the US is the biggest polluter in the world, right? But for us, we have to report, every $600 transaction. The government wants to know about it. If I want to send a peer-to-peer transaction with Phil, I have to provide this information. But when the government does it,
hey, you get to ask for an exemption, right? So you don't have to report the numbers that make you look bad. If you're in the right circles and you know the right people, you don't have to follow these rules, Nico. You just don't have to. You don't have to do it.
I'm gonna repeat this one more time. Lindorf concluded that Pentagon accounting is phony, composed of made-up numbers designed to obfuscate, thus propelling U.S. military spending higher year. We also covered an article by Jerome Powell, right? Literally putting the money that was printed into the assets that he owned to pump his own bags. So again, for the government, obfuscation, they don't tell you anything. It's all behind closed doors. For us plebs, for the serfs, right? You could do whatever you want. $600, you know, I have to report private information for if I want to send over $10,000 to Phil. Completely against the Fourth Amendment. Doesn't matter. It's okay. That's what they want to do. This is what we're living through right now. And this is the war, and this is the dark clouds that I've been warning you about for a couple months now. We are here. We are in the middle of it. And it's going to get worse. But there is some good news, right? If you literally buy your Bitcoin and you take it off the exchange and you put it into cold storage, they become powerless. They don't want you to know that. They want you to transition between Bitcoin to fiat because they want to be able to see that. But if you keep your money in Bitcoin and you pay people in Bitcoin and you stay within the Bitcoin economy, you are defunding them. And these are evil people. You read it right there. They don't talk about the deformities in Iraq. They don't talk about the U.S. military being the biggest emitter of pollution. You know, it specifically says at 1997 Kyoto, they stopped reporting that. You know, again, because it's rules for thee, but not for me, right? And of course, Bitcoin's the problem. You know why Bitcoin's the problem? It's not about the waste. Bitcoin is a problem because it defunds them. They're scared shitless. We're winning. Look at El Salvador. Look at these relentless propaganda media articles coming out. They're scared. And they're trying to shut out all the escape valves, but it will not work. But this is going to get very, very scary before it gets any better. But we will win this because internets or open networks always beat closed networks, intranets. Phil?
Hey, I think I lost something. You didn't see my 21 trillion anywhere, did you?
I might be under your desk, bro.
Okay. How the hell do you lose $21 trillion? How do you lose? How do you lose all the transactions for $21 trillion? And, like, don't get me wrong. I know that they published an article about the Pentagon, but, like, do you really think it's just the Pentagon? Do you really think it's just the U.S. Army? To me, every time I see these articles, every time I see this type of stuff, the only thing I think is, oh, these are the people, this is the group, this is the individual, whatever it is, that has been chosen to take the fall. Like, this is how it works. To me, anyways, like, that's what I see. Like, when we saw the 2008 financial crisis, like, you know, Lehman Brothers, they were just left holding the bag, man. Bear Stearns, because think about it. They, you know, it's like they were all shitcoining, man. They were all buying those credit default swaps. They were all holding bags of garbage, right? But yet, a couple of chosen institutions were left holding the bag and were the ones that, quote unquote, disappeared. You know, that's, what do they call that again? It's not, I hate it when I draw a blank like this. It's not the victim, but, they're like they're like the affected bystander, you know, it's like a person gets, you know, they're not actually in the accident, but shrapnel from the accident hits them, kind of thing. So I'm not saying that that's what Lehman Brothers was.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean, right? Like, it's terrible.
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage. Thank you. That's exactly what. And all these like smaller businesses, right? Some of them didn't even know that they were buying this garbage. Some of them didn't even know that it was garbage. Okay? And they got screwed. So again, this is just more of that, right? It's coming from every single angle. I mean, look, our government can't keep their own house in order. We have a money printing machine that knows no bounds, and yet you and I have to sit there and report our frickin' transactions between each other. we are the ones that have to report our transactions between each other. I want you to like really think about that, right? It's like, you know, picture a whole bunch of rulers doing whatever they want, right?
It's psychotic. It's
and the serfs who already don't get to do whatever they want in any way, shape, or form have more and more regulation at the pleasure of this elite psychotic ruling class. I honestly feel like we can shit better people than this. I swear to God, I don't know what it is, man.
No,
like who the hell made these creatures? And
man,
sorry to say this, but like the parents of these people, like these are grown adults. Like their parents must have sucked, man. How did you make such a depraved, shitty human?
Dude,
you should be ashamed.
Evil human. And I'm telling you, the evil comes, right? The evil comes, and we say this many times on this show, right? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that money printer is absolute power. Any single type of war, policy, you want to bomb Libya, destroy it. You want to bomb Iraq, destroy the country. You want to bomb Syria. You want to invade Afghanistan 20 years. Oh, I left $80 billion of equipment. Who cares? I'll just print more money. That is where the corruption and the evil comes from. Think about it. It costs them nothing to create this money that people spend their lives trying to earn. And they don't care. They don't play by the same rules we do. Nope. But then they expect us to do all of this reporting that's going to cost us a fortune. And I'm telling you, they're going to put some Bitcoiners in jail just to make an example out of them, just like they made an example of Ross Ulbricht. This is an injustice, but we will win this fight, guys. Have to hold, run your own node, stack those sats, defund their system, and it will collapse on its own. Phil, there was a software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. All right, we've got mempool version 2.2.2 that was released. That is a mempool explorer. You can see how much the transactions are per second. You can see how many transactions are in the blocks that have already been confirmed, the ones that are going to be confirmed. There's a whole bunch of great information. Anyways, check it out down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Check out CryptoCloaks.com for the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch. Rick just made up a big Bitcoin grenade. He had the small one. Now there's a big one. You get 5% off anything on the store down below. Check out Citadel 21 for the best Bitcoin pleb signal written by plebs for plebs. Phil and I have written articles for them. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. And of course, check out our new sponsor, PirateHash.com. They sell Bitcoin-related products, experimental, ongoing. They're for sale. Buy it if you want to support the projects or if you'd like to own any of the projects themselves. It's by Pedro. He's an awesome UI developer. He came up with the UI for Bisq and other Bitcoin-related projects, and he's also helping us with our dashboard that's coming very soon. But guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button! And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the nation states and the Bitcoin news from the blip perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
We're being governed by depraved evil clowns.